Welcome to Two Humans Talking, the podcast that discusses what it looks like to be healthy and stay healthy in a modern, fast paced world. I'm your host, Tiffany Simms, and today I am here with Coach Q. Her and I are going to be diving in to not just self care, but what does that really mean, especially as we're coming out of the holiday season? How do you take care of yourself? What does that look like? Like, how do I do that in a way that's not fluffy and feels like I haven't earned it? All the things. We're going there. We're going to talk about it. But before we dive in, Quiche, do you mind sharing with our listeners who you are, where you come from, what makes you you, and then we'll dive right in.
Yeah, so hi everyone. My name is Quiche or Q or Coach Q or any variation thereof. I'm from right outside of Nashville, Tennessee. I have a background of I went to school to be a doctor, and I had the opportunity in college to job shadow in a hospital, and I learned that that was not the path I wanted to take because we're so heavily focused on pharmaceuticals.
Mm,
We'll make this story very, very short. I went through what I like to call my identity crisis and really just had to learn who I was and what I was meant to do. Crazy anxiety, like crazy, crazy depressed, so much so that I asked myself, what is the point of being on this earth? And I really pulled myself out of that spot, started my first coaching business. Nutshell version of that story, hit the same wall again and really had to figure out what was it, right? It wasn't the jobs, it wasn't those external things. It was really that I wasn't doing anything that was making me happy. And I also wasn't taking care of those things that I was supposed to. So I went out and got my personal training certification, nutrition cert. I was already a yoga instructor and I started health coaching. And through health coaching, I wanted to do something that was just a little bit different than other people versus just saying, hey, go eat this, go do this. And I really wanted to help people to be successful and stick with their things and make it a lifestyle change. So I really added just this big piece of really making sure that you're putting yourself first. And that has been really transformational for me. So that was like 60-second soundbite of what Keisha's life is.
I love that so, so much because, like, very similar. We overlap so much, and I get it. And so I'm really curious for you. I'm just going to ask, and then we're going to share each of our definitions of what like self care and self love really means. So for you, how do you explain what self care is to like a random human on the street that you might be chatting to?
So self care is just ultimately putting ourselves first, taking care of ourselves. And I believe that there are eight spokes to the wheel when it comes to that. We have the physical piece, the mental piece, your emotional, intellectual, spiritual, social, financial, and your environmental piece. And I know that sounds like a lot. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, I got to take care of all of that. Yes. But at the same time, they all sort of intertwine in some way, but it's really just about balancing them. So you just find the one that's most out of balance and you start with that one, and that really just bleeds into the rest of them.
That's so cool. I love that. I talk about that true health is about creating harmony between your health, your relationships, and the way you earn money. And if you were to extract those out, we get to those eight pieces, right? I think that's
Mhm.
really, really cool. And just a testament, like that is the secret sauce. And it's not a secret, but it's seems floofy and woo woo. And like, who has time for that when you talk to some people who are like in the thick of it?
Mhm.
And it's like, I'm getting my massage, I'm getting my nails done, I go for a pedicure. Like, what more do you want from me, woman? I barely have time for that. And it's like, I used to think that was self care. Like, oh, I'm taking care of myself. Look at me go. And it's like, actually, did you move your body today in a way that made you feel good? Did you eat in a way that made your body feel alive and not you responding as an asshole? Like, because that is that is caring for yourself at like the basic need level. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's like the first thing that we overlook in a society, in our society. It's like, I don't have time for that. Where's the coffee? Where's the drive through? I don't have time. When my life calms down and I get myself under control, then I'll worry about my health and my
That part.
financial plan and how it's all going to work together. But I just got to survive today.
That part. That's literally how a lot of people think. And to that point, did I move my body today? Did I fuel my body the proper way to get me through these busy days? Have I hydrated my body? Because we don't know what water is a lot of times. And did we sleep? Like those are the four core, like when shit hits the fan, did we do those core four? If we did and we're still feeling some type of way, then we need to move on to a different part. But a lot of times those core four right there will solve a lot of your problems.
Yeah. And it's so overlooked. From your perspective in the work you've done, why do you think that so many women, like, women will be the first to look at a girlfriend and be like, woman, you have got to take care of yourself. You've got to put yourself work first. Like, you can't be running on fumes. When was the last time you ate? Like, give
Mhm.
me that child. Like, go take a shower. We're so quick to identify it in other people, but for some reason, we don't know how to. I think it's a lack of I don't know how to make it real for me. So from your experience, what do you think is that block for so many women in taking care of themselves?
I think one that as women we like to nurture. So like we want to take care of everyone else and everything else. And two, sometimes we can't see the picture from inside the frame, right? Like we can legit see that everyone else needs it, but for ourselves, sometimes it's like we're so used to running on autopilot, these fumes, however you want to put that, that it's like when other people are like, okay, like I can tell that you haven't slept in days and I've been around you all day, you haven't eaten anything, you haven't taken a second just to take a deep breath, like do that. And we're so in denial about that. And it's because in our mind, it's probably like, okay, well, I've got to take the kid here, like the husband will be home here, or I told my friends I'd do that, and like all these things. But what you have to realize is that you cannot pour from an empty cup. We have to take time to fill our cup so that we can go out and fill other people's cups the way that we like to. So like that's what I think it is, and that was definitely my problem.
Tell me about your story. Where did tell me about that piece for you? Like, when did you really realize that you were on the hamster wheel, and like how did you slow the wheel down to start like getting off?
There were a few things that happened. It's like one of those things I believe that your intuition will tell you, "Hey, you need to kind of slow it down." And if you don't listen, it's like it turns into a whisper to getting hit in the face with a 2x4. So my first one is I literally had a nervous breakdown in the parking lot of my job. Lost 2 days of my life. Don't remember how I got home, like what happened. So that was like one of the first ones. And I was in my early 20s. So even if you're younger out there, like take care of yourself because they like your body will shut down for you if you're not. And so that was one of the biggest things. So I thought, okay, maybe it's just this job, and then fast forward the tape, I go to a different state, I start climbing the corporate ladder, doing all the things. And if you've ever climbed the corporate ladder, a lot of times you are not taking care of yourself. You're so focused on where you want to go that that piece starts missing. And so I hit a heavy, heavy depression. And as I mentioned in my like quick story, is that I really asked myself, what's the point of being on this earth? And that was one of the things that turned it around for me, is really realizing like this is not okay because there's no way we're all put on this earth to just work, pay bills, and die. Like that makes zero sense for us to even have a planet if that's what it's going to be. So that really started the journey for me of like starting to like take care of myself a little better. And then I think the last time was this earlier this year or last year when I thought, I'm really not doing anything that's fun for me. Right. I need to like actually enjoy this journey. It's not easy for any of us, but just putting some fun in there. So I think those three experiences really shaped me and helped me to get myself into gear because sometimes you're going to have things that happen and you're like, do something for a minute and you feel better. And then you're like, oh, okay, it's just like those antibiotics. Like, I feel better. I'm not going to take the rest of those type thing. And, you kind of go back into those old patterns, but it's until something truly shapes you that you truly go do it. And so when I incorporated fun for me was going to get my certifications. That's some of y'all are like, that's kind of crazy. But for me, I've always been interested in health and wellness. So that was like a big thing for me. And then I learned, oh my gosh, I can help people to do this. And so that's how I kind of fell into it. And then when I started practicing these things, I'm like, everyone should know this, right? And we all kind
Why
of
is this not
do.
common knowledge? Why were we
Right.
not raised this way?
Right. Yeah, and so it's like just teaching people like these are all the aspects, and then people get so overwhelmed because of everything else that's going on too that it's like we don't have to do all 8 at once, right? The big one that I start with is the physical piece because that turns a lot of things around for people. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
Oh, it
that was
100%.
sort of my my story.
100%.
Yeah.
100,000,000% did. I there was one thing that came up for me while you were sharing, and like I also had an anxiety attack at work, and I thought I was having a heart attack, so I took myself to the doctor. Why I didn't go to the ER, I don't know. But I went to the
Yeah.
doctor, and she was like, "Yeah, this is a panic attack." And I was like, "No, no, no. I'm strong. I can handle it. Like my like whatever." Like I was in denial that I could possibly be weak enough to
Hmm.
have an anxiety attack because that happened to like anyone but me.
Right.
Like I could
Hmm.
handle my stuff, right? I was fine. And for whatever reason, it was that visit where she was like, I know I've told you this before, but if something doesn't change, like it could be a heart attack next time. It
Hmm.
really could be. And I know I've told you if nothing changes, nothing changes. But if something does not change, and it was like in that moment where like all of a sudden, all of the fog, all of the things that I talked myself out of, all of the everything became so crystal clear. And for me, that part of that time I burned out, it was because it was self-inflicted. And it was because I had avoided making a choice 2 years prior because that choice scared the crap out of me. And then I got really comfy in the validation of my misery. And so,
Hmm.
like, it was just like warm blankets. The suckier it got, the warmer and cozier it felt. And I like leaned so hard into the suck. And it just validated my existence until that moment. And when I talk about burnout now, so many people, and I don't know if you've experienced this, people assume that like we're going to tell them they should quit their jobs and become an entrepreneur or something. Because like
Yep.
you should be your own free, your like create your own freedom, be your own economy, blah blah blah. I don't actually think that's true. I don't actually think you need to blow up your whole world. I think that if there's a calling on your heart, you know that you've outgrown your pot and you're supposed to do something different. That's what happened
Mhm.
to me. I knew I was supposed to do something else and I chose not to out of comfort. But like it's you're you no matter where you go.
Yep.
And so like there's habits and skills in old programming that like if you don't address it and you don't overcome it to regulate your nervous system and reset your autopilot so that when life is lifing, you don't slip back into old coping mechanisms, but you just operate as the person you want to be to feel the way you want to feel even when life's hitting the fan. Like you will always take you with you. Like you said, like I thought it was the job and then here I am after the honeymoon phase wore off. Here we are right back here and it was because you had taken you with you.
Yep. That's perfectly said because I like to say that too. It's building those new habits. Like you said it perfectly. Like big exercise I take people through when they first begin to work with me is what do you want? And that was such a big question for me because I could tell you 5,000 things I didn't want all day. But what did I actually want? That question was kind of like, oh, like I've never actually like thought about that before. So really figuring out what it is that you want for your life and then you have to stop yourself and when you're thinking about that, don't hold back on what you want because you feel like it's impossible right now. Like
That
truly
is
ask
so
what you
good.
want. Like whatever it is, it doesn't matter if it seems so far off, write it down, write that down. And then what you're going to do is figure out how you're going to get there. Who do you need to be to do that? And like you said, you just go out there and you're going to build those new habits so that when things pop up, your baseline is different. But you have a lot of work to do because your brain and body were made to keep you safe and protected. So, homeostasis for you right now might be reaching for those cozy blankets. I don't want to go work out because it hurts and it takes time and I have a lot of things on my plate. But as you move that baseline, your cozy blanket's going to be different. my cozy blanket now is I don't really feel like working out today, but I'm gonna at least go for a mile run because I know what it does for my mental health. So, I
Mhm.
mean, that example could go for many areas of your life, but you have to create those habits in order for it to become a new baseline.
It's so cool. That's so, so true. And I really want to like go back to the starting point for that of like, what is it that I want? Because you have to know where you're going. Otherwise, and I think so many women fall into this, they want to lose weight. We'll use that because it's such an easy example. I need to lose 30 pounds. Well, why do you want to lose 30 pounds? So I can fit in my clothes. Well, why is that important to you? And when you peel back the onion, it's like, I want to be able to tie my shoe without feeling like I'm going to pop. I want to be able to keep up with my kids or my grandkids. I want to
Mhm,
run that race with my friends and not be out of breath and embarrass myself. Like, those are very specific reasons for why you want to do something, which then will tell you what the plan you need to follow is.
mhm,
Because if you're not a figure competitor and you're not trying to go get a pro card, you don't need to do the militant compliant things that people who are competing at that level do because that's their job and their identity for this season. If you just want
mhm,
to feel great in your body and be the healthiest version of you, like there's such a different path and so many different ways of getting there. But if you don't ask yourself why it's important and really understand, well, of course you're going to be miserable. And of course you're just going to keep failing and it's going to feel like work. And you're going to be like, oh my God, not until I have time to breathe do I have time to worry about that again. Because who wants
mhm.
to do things that feel like a chore or a punishment? No one.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, I completely agree with that. It's like, okay, what do you want? So say in your life you just want to be super successful. Okay, we're just going to use that blanket example, but that feels and looks different for everybody. Okay, like success isn't always money, it isn't always like the big house, it isn't always like these things, right? So once you do that, that's when you can set your goals, right? Like even in that success umbrella, like what does Tiffany look like when she's successful? Right? Like, what is she doing? Who is she with? What is she wearing? Like,
How does
what
it
is she
feel?
eating? Yeah, like all of those different things. And then, like you said, with your workouts and stuff, like, what is it that you want? Like, do you just want to feel better in your body? Because sometimes that's a big thing. Right? And sometimes that isn't like a number on a scale. Sometimes that isn't necessarily what you see in the mirror, like when it's tied to mental health and different things, right? But moving your body will help to get you there. So I think a lot of times when we're setting goals, we tie it to what society has said that we should versus what it is that we actually want. And I'm very big on breaking away from those standards because, like, going back to the success example, your idea of success might be getting a big RV that's decked out like a house and that you can travel all over the place with it, live anywhere, right? And but someone told you, oh, you can't do that because you have kids. There are people who do it all the time. Their kids love it, their kids are educated, and they're also being able to travel and see different things, right? Your idea of success might be that big house so that you can have a space for your family to come and, stay, or people get into trouble as in like they lose their house or something, you can like serve them in that capacity. Like it doesn't have to look like the big house, white picket fence, 2.5 kids, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because that was me. That's what I was chasing. And like, these are my goals. I want to be successful, and this is what success looks like. And now success has a completely different meaning to me. So just making sure that you do ask yourself what you want and stick to that versus what everyone else and the world around you is saying.
Yeah. And the only time way you figure that out is sitting with yourself. Even if it's only like 2 minutes in the bathroom with like your noise canceling headphones to get a minute of peace or hiding in the bathtub, like whatever it is for you, like you just sit over and over again and you continue to, like, for me, what I found really helpful in my own discovery of what success looked like for me was just writing it over and over and over again. And
Mhm,
every day, or at least every week, like something would look a little different, like same storyline, slightly different colored paint, like same
mhm,
house, different color paint. And I would just, and it just fine tuned over time. And I will tell you that I'll share with the listeners and you here is like, for me, that updates at least quarterly, if not more, because as I have new experiences, my reality of what's possible and what I do or don't want, or things that I thought I wanted, and then once I got them, I'm like, "Oh, that actually didn't fill the cup I thought it was. That's not it. So what is it really?" Like, it evolves with you.
Yeah.
And so but that's how you feel, right? Like, have you
Mhm.
ever accomplished things and then you get there and you're like, "All right, well, what's next? Because that didn't feel the way I thought it was gonna." Like,
Well,
nothing
I'm like,
different.
you're right. Like I'm still in the same spot. Like you hit the nail on the head, and when you said that, I was like, that is a great point because like that's what a lot of my students go through too. It's like, oh, well, when I first started out 6 months ago, I wanted this, but now I want something different. Do I actually know what I want? Like, yes, you do, but as you're going through the journey, you're gonna grow. And when you grow, it's okay to like shift the things that you want. So a big thing for me was I would set a goal and I was that person like I will go towards this goal until the wheels fall off. And when I got
Yep.
older, it was like, girl, it's not that you're quitting because I think I'll always have this thing like I don't want to quit. Like it's not I'm quitting on myself. It's not quitting. Sometimes we have to redirect. It's like maybe if you're driving from the East Coast to the West Coast, you might have to get on a bypass highway. Like you're still going the same direction, but you're gonna have to take a different route because that first route you're taking doesn't serve you anymore. Maybe it turned into a dirt road. Maybe construction closed it down. Like you just have to reroute, and that's okay as long as the bigger picture of what you want, you're still going in that direction. So I think that is like a huge thing. And that's for me, that's been my thing, or you get things and you're like, okay, like I thought this was so shiny and so hard to do, and then I hit it, and then like you said, like it makes me like, okay, like I can do bigger things, like I can set bigger goals, and you start to
Or
build
you
more
get lost,
belief.
you get halfway to the goal and you're like, your sights are already on the next thing. You haven't finished this one, but like you're like three things further down the road that are like so impossible. And I don't, I might, there was a time where I was just like, there's a lot of lessons I've had to relearn. And it's like, I thought you handled this. What is wrong with you? Why are you falling backwards? But I thought, like, once you arrived at the destination, that was it. And recognizing that it is always growing, it's always changing. And some of the things that you had to like overcome, you have to re overcome as the new version of yourself because you
Mhm,
haven't actually handled it as this current person. And that
mhm,
was a really big thing for me to learn and like really mess with my brain for a little bit. And I love that you had shared, like sometimes you're on your way to a goal and you recognize like I'm chasing the wrong thing, or a new door opens and you're like, "Oh, I'm supposed to take the exit now." I
mhm.
used to fight so hard to hang on because I'm not a quitter. And the first time I was like, "You know what? I love everything about chasing the goal I was after, but it no longer serves me." And I'm so grateful I chased it because it opened a whole new opportunity of goals that I didn't even know existed to have chased before. Right. So sometimes those side quests, they're side quests on the way to the thing that you didn't even know was going to exist for yourself yet.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, like and you have to make it fun. Like everyone goes through the things, but just find the bright side. Gratitude's a big thing. For one of your things that you said, like there is no destination. Like we have goals and things we want to hit. I like to call those little pit stops. Yay, I did it. Yes, you want to be proud, you want to celebrate. And then what's the next thing? It's not, okay, I made it to this pit stop. What's next? Like, no, like you did something because maybe months or years ago, you never thought that you would get to that pit stop. So take a second to be like, I did it. You're allowed to celebrate yourself. You're allowed to be proud of yourself. Because I think sometimes, like, this is something recently that popped up for me. I literally like looked around at my life and I'm like, girl, you good job. Like, and I don't take time to acknowledge a lot of times because like I want so much for myself, but we have to like enjoy and be grateful for those milestones. And then another thing is gratitude because I know for me, it's like I want so much for myself. Yeah, I hit this butt. Yeah, I hit this spot, but the next, and it's like, no, be grateful because it's like so many people would love to be where you are right now, even if you feel like you're in the pit of despair, right?
Yeah.
So just making sure you're grateful for what you have while you're working for what you want too is like such a
How
big
do
thing.
you stay in the moment? Like, For someone who's not used to celebrating themselves, or it feels silly, or they try, but like really you're on to the next thing within 24 hours of accomplishing the thing, right? Because it was literally a rest stop to refuel. You didn't know it at the time when you were chasing it, but it's really just a gas station to the
Mhm.
next part of the trip. And so, like, do you have any tools or tips and tricks that you use to keep yourself in the moment to extend that celebration a little longer?
It is a practice, truly mindfulness, right? If you a lot of people have heard that and you're like, I don't really know what that is, but it's literally just being present and making sure that you are staying in the gratitude because if you're grateful for what you have right now, that's going to keep you present. Like you have no choice. And as you're working on things, like, yes, you kind of have to look into the future, but that shouldn't be like what's consuming your mind. It should be on your mind, but not consuming you. And so, to your point, making sure you spend some quiet time every single day. Every day is going to look different, especially if you have kids and spouse and things going on. But everyone can find 10 minutes a day. I don't care what you tell me, everyone can find 10 minutes a day because I guarantee you, you're scrolling on your phone, you've watched a TV show, you've stared off into space for a second thinking about a million other things, right? So everyone can find 10 minutes to just sit and be present. Those thoughts are going to fly by in your mind. Like I'm really big on teaching meditation, but those thoughts are going to fly by in your mind. That's fine. Those thoughts are supposed to be there, right? Just acknowledge that they're there, but don't get caught up on them. Just acknowledge that they're there, let them do what they're supposed to do, and you sit and you focus on your breath or on a candle, or if you go for a walk, notice the pretty things around you. And then that will start to transfer into your everyday life when you're doing things, but it's a practice. It doesn't just like you did it one time and you're like, oh, yeah, great, I'm present. No, like it's taken me really years to do that. And then one of the big ways is finding time to sit with yourself and truly practicing gratitude, which looks different for everybody.
I love that. So true. And I love that you say practice because it does. It takes, if you've never been someone who sits still before to listen to your own thoughts in a non judgmental way and to practice gratitude, like it feels silly. You forget to do it a few days and then you're like, oh
Mhm,
crap, I was supposed to do that thing. And like it takes time for it to integrate into your identity as someone who does that. And so you
mhm,
got to get that's what giving grace is. It's like, oh yeah, I'm practicing becoming the person who does this regularly.
mhm,
Right? Something that I had to start doing for myself because like I am so good at like I feel so deeply that we have run all of the emotions in the moment we cross the finish line. Like it all comes out. We are clear. It is a celebration for the day. And then the next day it's like, okay, we're back to life. Like what are we grateful for? What are we chasing today? Like what's our intention for the next whatever? And so for me, when I really hit big milestones that took me a lot of intention and work, I had sounds so silly. But I started putting calendar events every day for 14 days to pop up as a reminder and it'll say you did whatever the accomplishment was. And like it'll pop up and it's just like that moment of like, yeah, I did. Good job. Like, and then you're back into whatever it was that I was working on. But like that has really helped me extend being present in my accomplishments because a lot of things I've done have taken a lot, a lot. And some of them are like years in the making. And to just
mhm.
celebrate for like an hour feels like such a disservice to every version of myself before now that sacrificed to like chase the thing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's good. That's like another form of gratitude right there. That's like
Mhm.
you put it in your calendar. That's why I said it looks different for
Yeah.
everybody. And I think that's an amazing thing. And I like the emotions behind it because that's how you know like it's truly felt and that it's that you did it and you feel proud and you're allowed to do that because to that point there are a lot of us that don't or didn't let those emotions flow, right? When it comes to certain things, no matter what the emotion was, right? It was like you push that down and you keep going,
You don't want to be
right?
too much. You don't want to look self-centered. You don't want to be cocky and arrogant. Like, Okay, you did it. Good job. Do you want a cookie? Actually, I do. Thank
Yeah,
you very much. And
right.
I'll take the stickers because I'm sticker motivated. And
All the
like, and
things.
throw that party. But it took me a
Yeah.
long time to be able to be like, no, actually, I am 100% allowed to celebrate this for as long as I feel necessary.
And so that's a good thing too, because some people think like, I've hit this, but I can't stay in this for a minute because I feel like I'll get stuck. But if you're truly shooting for what you won't get stuck. But you have to give yourself a limit, right? Like we're not gonna sit here for a month and be like, yeah, I got my certifications, but I haven't done anything with them, right? Like, no, take a day or two, depending on what it is, sometimes a week, right? Like you have to do those things. Go celebrate with your friends, like make it an event so that that is like ingrained in you, like I'm proud of myself, I'm celebrating me, others are celebrating me, which is okay, and validating for us, which we all need sometimes. And then you just take that like high, if you will, or that emotion that you have from that moment and carry it into the next thing, because if you look at the road that it took to get to this milestone, it wasn't easy. So you need something to sort of push you into the next thing, because the next thing isn't going to be easy either. Just because you made it to this point, it's like a constant thing. So just use that and honestly celebrate it. I do different incentives for myself. Once I hit this milestone, I can take myself to dinner or buy an outfit or go out with my friends or like you name it, whatever is good for you, especially if you're having to sacrifice some things for a time. Use the things you're sacrificing that you like as a reward for yourself. So, I mean, I love all of that.
And then find ways to anchor yourself into those moments. So, like, if you were to look around my office, like, I ran a marathon in Disney World after 4 days of running. That, like, there's little things in my office because we all have those moments where we're like, who do I think I am? I don't think I can do this. Why did I think
Mhm,
I could achieve the thing? And so, like, I strategically have things throughout my office that remind me of all of those big things. And it's like, oh, yeah, you can do hard stuff. Like, you've
mhm,
done hard shit before. It was uncomfortable then. You didn't know how you were going to get there. But, like, you will do it because you've done it before. Why will this be any different? Unless you choose to stop.
mhm.
And so, like, finding ways to just re-anchor has been really, really helpful for me as well.
Yeah, keeping that in front of you, just like your goals. Like I'm very big on that. Like if you have a goal, I don't care if you think, oh my gosh, everyone probably thinks this is stupid or a little goal. That goal isn't for them, first of all. That
Mm.
goal is for you. Second, keep it in front of you. Put it on your wallpaper on your phone. Get a sticky note. I am the queen of stickies. I have them literally everywhere. Put a sticky note on your bathroom mirror. Yeah, put it on your stove, your microwave, on the dashboard of your car, write it on your hand. Like, I don't know what you have to do, but put your goals in places that you're going to see them all the time. Because I don't know if any of you have ever gone after a goal and you're like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna lose the 10 pounds this time or whatever it is. And then a few months later, you're like, okay, like, what was your goals? And then you're like, "Oh, wait, what was my," you know what I mean? Like, you just completely forget what it is, and that's a normal thing if it's not kept in front of you. So I think your accomplishments, as well as the goals that you're going after, it's very good to have them in front of you, kinda like you do to remind you.
This has been such a great conversation. I really appreciate you showing up here today and just bringing your heart and your love and your message with us. As we wrap up for today, is there anything left on your heart that we maybe didn't touch on, or any final message that you want to leave our listener with?
Just put yourself first. You shouldn't feel guilty about that. If you want to be that person that serves and does things for other people, it's like the airplane example. You got to put your mask on first before you help others, because you're not going to help anyone pass out in the seat, like not even yourself. So put yourself first and go do the thing.
How do people connect with you outside of the show?
Facebook, Quiche Fletcher, Instagram, The Confidence Maker. From there, you can find all of my other things.
Ah, Quiche, thank you so much for spending time with us today. This was absolutely wonderful. I know my cup is full after our conversation. And so, with that, that's Two Humans Talking, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this episode as inspiring and actionable as I did. If you're ready to stop just surviving and start living a life where your health, your relationships, and your career work together without the burnout, then it's time that you join the Modern Woman Society. Inside, I'll walk you through my life GPS system, a proven blueprint to help you have it all while thriving. You'll gain tools, coaching, and the kind of clarity that brings big dreams to life without the stress, overwhelm, guilt, and shame that the modern woman is used to. We're going to create a life where you feel energized and excited to wake up every day and fulfilled when you put your head on the pillow. Click the link below to learn more and join countless other women who are redefining success on their terms. Because the life you've dreamed about is closer than you think. I'll see you on the inside.